Welcome to Eviliv3, the live media commentary show that answers the question, just because you have a theory doesn't mean you should share it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, because today we are reviewing Chris's Crazy Theories' first foray into foolishness. That's alliteration. And of course, this is by Chris Androu, friend of the channel. And of course, if you've watched the Horrific podcast, he's featured there as doing reviews. And of course, that's where this entire premise came from, the whole Chris's Crazy Theory. So my initial thoughts of this is I didn't really know what to expect going in. I haven't watched a whole bunch of the Chris's Crazy Theory segments or reviews that have featured him in it, but I am good friends with the Horrific podcast creator and producer and of course, Chris and even the illustrator of this collection. And so I figured I should give, just out of respect, I should at least review it just as a friend. But because I am going to review it, I have to be a little bit critical, because that's what reviews really are. They're your honest opinions of a product or some service of some kind, right? And so all of that is to say, I am couching this in, I genuinely like the people I'm talking about, but again, I have to be honest about the product. So my initial thoughts are, I'm pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect. I had purchased it a little while back, but I hadn't got around to reading it because I was reading a whole bunch of other books at the time. And now I have a bit of a break between books. And I thought, well, let me knock this thing out. It's only 200 pages. I can, tear that up in, 2 days. I tend to meter out the amount I read every day. Like an insane person, I know, but I do. All right. So all that being said, let's talk about Chris's Crazy Theories' first foray into foolishness. All right, so this is written by Chris Androu. It is illustrated by Cameron John. Of course, you all know Cameron is frequent collaborator and contributor on this individual YouTube channel and every single thing I've ever done in the past, including our Star Wars YouTube channel, The Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy-Looking Nerve Herders. And it's published by Horrific Publishing, which is an arm of the Horrific Podcast YouTube channel. So definitely go check them out. I've got them linked in the description below, so you can easily just click on it, get over there, and hit subscribe. All right, so this was released on, hey, look at that guy in the chat. This was released on September 20th, 2025. And again, I picked it up a while ago, and I'm just now getting around to it because I'm slow, I guess. And I have to say, first and foremost, this is not 200 pages. I do not have the physical version of this. I have the digital Kindle version of this. And the numbering system is way off. And there are some fundamental formatting issues with the Kindle edition. And I'm going to be bringing them up, not to tear apart the publishing or anything like that, but to give you an expectation. If you buy the digital version, this is what you're going to have to deal with. And there are things that you have to deal with. In some cases, it's almost impossible to get through because, well, I'll get into very specifics here, but because portions of it are either squished vertically or horizontally so badly that you can't actually make out the letter forms unless you really, really pay attention and focus. And that makes it very challenging to read. And that is something that in modern day should never happen. But that's the world we live in. All right. So this includes stories. I say stories, but it's really the theories. And they vary in length and complexity. They're always done with the tongue firmly planted in cheek. And it's all meant to be fun and light and entertaining. And it succeeds on all accounts. Every single one of them, I found myself just sort of, giggling aloud and just sort of enjoying myself as I'm going through them. And then at the end of each one of these is a QR code, which will then take you to the video. And so you can actually just watch the video version of it. Now, the challenge with this is, to my knowledge, only a couple of these are not available to public, the videos that it links to. Which then causes a problem, because then why would you buy the book if you can just watch all of the theories? There's no reason to, except to support the creators of the book, which I thoroughly encourage and suggest that you do so. There's a link in the description below where you can pick it up. But it's a bit of a shooting yourself in the foot type situation, because if you're going to allow it all free online, then there's no real reason to buy the book. And if the book only links then back to the online videos, again, why even get the book? So, I really think that they should take down those videos and only allow them to be seen if it's going to be featured in this book by the QR code that links directly to it. That way you create exclusivity, and you're very, narrowing the requirement, or narrowing the need to purchase or something. You're incentivizing them to purchase it, basically, is what I'm getting at. But that all being said, this is the first foray into it, as the title suggests, and so mistakes will be made, and corrections will be made in further editions, which I'm hoping there will be. Okay, so the theories or stories included herein cover movies like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Beetlejuice, Leprechaun, Maximum Overdrive, like all sorts of stuff, films. And the theories themselves sort of weave into the actual plot lines of each of them in a very interesting way, so as to expose the realities behind either inconsistencies in plot, or further extrapolate on the concept of the films themselves, or the setting, or give justifications for certain behaviors or things that happen on screen. And so it's not just a review like this, which you can make a fair argument is pretty meaningless, pointless, why would you even bother? It's actually building on the films, which, if you are a fan of horror films, then you should enjoy diving down those rabbit holes. And if you're just into conspiracy stuff anyway, it's a really fun way, a lighthearted way to dive into those rabbit holes and sort of pull back the layers of the onion, as it were, and get a little bit more detail and information. The theories are way more fleshed out in the book than the online videos. Oh, okay. So that's then just cause for grabbing the actual book then. I want to talk about some issues with this book, the formatting and stuff, because again, it's a huge barrier. And look, this is my industry. All right. I've designed a number of books myself. I have self-published a number of books myself. And the realities of the self-publishing and designing books are that if you're in the industry and then things are going to drive you insane when you see them. This goes with any type of physical product or digital product that I see or read. I can't help but notice the errors because it's what I do for a living. And so, there's cases where there are misspellings. There are cases where there are no spaces after punctuation. There are issues with runts, and layout, stuff like that. While most people probably won't ever notice it, and it probably wouldn't bother anyone, really hit me hard. But more than that is the actual layout, the design layout of the book. And again, I don't know about the print version. I'm only referencing the digital version because that's the version I have. The digital version is a mess with layout. Images are squished horizontally or they're squished vertically, and that wouldn't normally be a huge issue, except that the text is tied to the images in a column. And so you really have text that is wildly varied in size and in some cases in font. So it's completely different fonts on the same theory, just paragraph after paragraph, which is bananas. And then you have the whole squish issue. So you really have to strain to read what the actual content is because the text isn't freeform text. It's actually a part of the image. And I mean, all of these are like huge no-nos when it comes to publishing. And so it becomes prohibitive to even want to consider getting through the first couple theories because you're running into these really aggressive, egregious design issues. However, they're not as bad later on. And so I don't know if it's just a mistake on the early theories or if it's just the way that Kindle is auto formatting or what. But if I was the publisher, I would be infuriated. I would be like shaking my fist at the man and demanding them take it down, fix the errors, and then put it back up. Because this is the type of thing that can completely sink a publisher when you're seeing this type of stuff. And again, I like the publisher. I think they're great at what they do. This is an issue, though, and it needs to be dealt with. Okay, so the pages and images are squished and stretched. The sizes are completely random, perhaps due to the text being an image on the actual page. It says it's 200 pages, but it's not even close to that. Even in the digital version, you have it jumping from like 1 to 34 or 34 to like 100. Like the page count is so erratic and out there. There's, like, why even bother with the page count at that point? The QR codes that lead to the videos are nice, and it adds more conversational context, which is very nice. And it's nice just to see the producer and the author just sort of riffing back and forth. That's always fun, There's margin issues between images and the text. Sometimes it's inconsistent. Sometimes the margin issues are on the page and they're inconsistent. Again, it could be a ebook formatting error, which I tend to believe that to be the case. But again, it is an error that needs to be corrected. And that's kind of like the biggest issues I had with the book. And it does make it, again, and I hate to keep hammering on this, but if I'm going to be linking to it, I want to make sure that people who click through the link know what to expect. Because I can't speak to the printed version, I can only speak to the digital version. I would definitely pick up the printed version of it. The digital version's nice, but the printed version is probably going to be a lot better looking, and sitting on your shelf and everything is always a nice option anyway. Okay, let's see. You're glad the fun aspect came across. The main goal to look at known horror movies in a slightly different way that could add to the enjoyment the next time you watch. And it certainly did that. Look, I really liked all of the theories presented. I thought they were inventive, creative, fun, and it does provide a perspective that I had not considered in every single case. And that's nice, because the author is showcasing a point of view that is not common at all, that is very fun, and creative, and you'll laugh a little bit when you're reading it, which is kind of what the point is. It's the entertainment. Okay, that all being said, my favorite part of this, I really like the Beetlejuice one, but maybe it's the Beetlejuice one. I did really like the Maximum Overdrive one. I think it's Maximum Overdrive. I feel bad for not having this. It's where the reason why the machines are coming to life, is due to the comet that the Earth is passing through and stuff. And I thought that was really, really interesting. I didn't watch any of the Final Destination films, and so that theory just landed on deaf ears for me. I didn't it was still enjoyable to read, but I just didn't have any context to it. I get the premise of the films, and so I don't know. It just didn't really land very much. I thought Sharknado theory was really fun. That was a lot of goodness in there. The Resident Evil one, I don't know, kind of felt a little bit flat to me. The one that I actually is going to be my least favorite, and not least favorite about the book, just my least favorite theory, which I still enjoyed, was the Drag Me to Hell one, because I love that film so much. And I disagree with the theory so much that I wish I could have a back and forth about it. But again, it's just, that's the one, Chris, the Maximum Overdrive one. I really, really enjoyed that one. Because I like Drag Me to Hell so much, I don't know. It didn't land with me very well. But again, all of them are still entertaining, whether you agree with the theory or not. And the point of this is not to convince you to agree with the theory. It's to present a theory and you just to enjoy the reading or the consumption of that theory. So my least part about this digital edition is the layout. It's ripe with issues. And had I known it going into it, I would have just bought the physical edition. I would not have bought the digital version. Again, because I'm friends with these people and I don't want to be negative about something that they release, but I do have to be honest about the review or else I'm going to look like an asshole. And I'm not going to do that. So, I've got to be honest. All that being said, I'm going to give this a rating of 3 out of 5 evil eyes. Drag me to hell, evil eyes. And it's only 3 and not more because of the printing issues. That's it. So if there were the digital issues. If the formatting was corrected, I would probably give it a 4.5 or 5 stars or 5 eyeballs. But until that's corrected, in good conscience, I can't. So that's where I stand. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this pretty choppy review. I know I didn't want to give away any of the theories in detail. So I do highly recommend you pick up the physical book, and you can get to it from the link in the description below and read them yourselves. They're a lot of fun. And then check out the Horrific podcast because it's a lot of fun. I've got all my friends are on it. And so I highly recommend that you guys go check it out. It's very entertaining. And that's going to do it for this review. So thank you all so very much for tuning in. Thank you, Chris. I was going to actually see if you wanted to jump on this in person, but it might have been awkward. So I chose not to. In either case, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, like it or not, evil spelled backwards is live. So get out there and be evil.